Hi everyone, Anya here. In today's class, I'm going to introduce you to tripod headstands. This class is designed for those of you guys who are starting to get into the inversions, those of you guys who are already getting to inversion and just still trying to build up confidence in it, and those of you guys who just want to find a new ways of understanding the pose. We don't need any props except for the wall and obviously the yoga mat. So whenever you're ready, meet me here. So before we go to the actual practice, let me share with you a few principles that I think are very essential in our yoga practice. Not necessarily just tripod headstands, but yoga practice. I like to call these principles 3F, 3 focuses. There is a focus number 1, which is the focus where we transitioning into the pose, process of moving from possibly one pose to the other. So that's focus number 1. The focus number 2 is when we already are in the pose. And obviously the focus number 3 is gonna be coming out from the pose. It's very essential to remember all those focuses because the truth is that they are very correlated. And each one of those steps determines how we're gonna land in the other steps. So the focus number 1, as I'm getting into the pose, it's gonna determine how comfortably, how safely, and with how much control I'm going to be landing in the pose, I'm going to staying in the pose. That focus number 2, how comfortable and in balance I am in the pose, is going to obviously determine how in control, how safely I'm going to come up from the pose. So we always have to remember that it's not just about being in the pose and getting the pose, it's the transitions in between getting in and getting out of the pose that are also essential, especially when we're going to be talking about tripod headstands. Okay, so let's for a second get into the tripod headstand, shall we? So I want you guys to start with either closing your eyes or not, but trying to visualize yourself in the tripod headstands. And as you're visualizing yourself in the tripod, try to turn the tripod into horizontal point of view. If you're looking at the tripod from the horizontal point, you may find very familiar pose called chaturanga, which is that half plank. Now, all of you, I'm assuming, know already what the chaturanga looks like. You know how to do chaturanga, have a pretty strong, powerful, confident half plank practice. So knowing principles of alignment in this pose, you can work with the same principles as you're going to inverted version of the chaturanga, because those same principles, the same muscle structures, the same muscles you're going to be engaging and using to get into that proper chaturanga, that solid chaturanga, you're going to be applying going to that inverted tripod. Okay, so stay with me in the chaturanga for a second. So if I'm in chaturanga, I'm doing 2 different things. I'm doing action and I'm doing counteraction. Some of my muscles in this case are going to be hands, arms muscles, are going to be doing action because they're pushing towards gravity. Some of the layers of my muscles in my body, which is the trunk, the glutes, and the leg muscles, are going to be doing counteraction, which means they're going to try to elevate away from the gravity. This is like a cool teamwork between the arms, the legs, and the trunk to try to get us into this fancy tripod pose that we want to get to. Okay, so this is essential to remember because as we go further with the explanation of the tripod headstands, I want you guys learn one essential thing. Tripod headstands, it's actually a handstand. And the reason why I want to say it's a handstand is because most of the time when we're going into the headstands, our focus is on bringing that head down, shifting the entire weight of the body into the head and possibly the neck, whereas forgetting about those pressure in the hands. So it's very essential for us to remember we are still in chaturanga as we're inverting the legs up. We are still using the hands the same way or even more in the tripod that we use in chaturanga. We want to remember that elevation goes not just from the legs at this point, but also from the neck. I want you guys to remember that every single headstand has no pressure on the head whatsoever, except for head touching the floor. But we're looking for the full, nice, stable headstands where the head could eventually come off the floor in not necessarily tripod headstands, but some version of the headstands actually allow us to get into the head, lifting, hovering above the mat. So I want you guys always remember, tripod headstands is more of the handstands. There is more power coming from the hands than from the head itself. And always remember the neck is actually there to elevate you up. Okay. Okay, let's focus on the head for a second. So I do not recommend, and you may not, or you may not disagree with me, but I am not a huge fan of going on the crown of your head. There's many reasons why, but there's two of them that I'm going to point it out for you. The first reason why I don't want you to go in the crown of your head is because if you go into the crown of your head, the positioning of the head is changing, which means the positioning of the cervical spine on your neck is also changing, which means the muscles of the neck are going to be compressing instead of elongating. As I mentioned earlier, you want to make sure that those muscles are elongating because they are elevating you up, right? So this is the first reason. And the tendency for getting in the crown of your head and getting compression in the neck is very common. Now, those of you guys who have this also chicken wings when the elbows are spilling up, you're automatically dropping the shoulders down, right? So it comes up into something like this, where the weight is in the crown of your head instead of being in the hands. The weight is in the neck, which is compressing the spine. And as we know, the cervical spine compression is going to just spin all the way like domino to your lower back. So there's no balance in that. There's no safety in it. The second thing why I don't want you to go on the crown of your head is because if you go on the crown of your head and you're still working on your balance, there's possibility of flipping over. And if you're flipping over and landing as a pancake, as soon as you're flipping over, I'm not even want to demonstrate it because it's pretty scary. As you go on the crown of your head and you feel like you're losing balance, your hands are in here, you go into that automatically fight or flight mode when your nervous system is activated and you're just pressing the neck muscles down. There's lots of compression here. There's lots of lymphatic lockage, locked up. And as you're flipping over, you're also compressing those neck muscles. And I think this is one of the most common injuries that I've seen in headstands over the more than a decade of teaching yoga or practicing yoga. So those are two reasons that I highly recommend you to get away from the crown of your head. It's just not solid, not stable, not safe. So where are we going? We're going on actually 3 or 2 inches above the hairline. And it's very interesting because one of my teachers said, well, I don't have a hairline, so how far it is? It's pretty, it's slightly above the forehead, right where the soft baby spots have. When we are born, we have like this nice soft spot right here, right below the crown of the head, like maybe 2 inches below the crown of your head, slightly above forehead. And that's the spot that you want to press gently down to the floor as you're going into the headstands. We're going to be working on it. I'm going to show you a few warm-ups for it. But yeah, that's where you want to go going into your headstands. It's not only easy for us to get into the headstands. Again, that's the focus one. It's easier for us to stay in the pose. That's the focus two. And it's easier for us, if you're not feeling stable, to roll out from the pose and landing safely. That's the focus number 3. Okay. The last but not less important thing is do not really pay attention to your toes pointing up. So if you're still working on the headstands, if you're still working on the balance, they're still working on stability, I highly recommend you to flex your feet. Flexion of the feet tightens your legs, makes you a little bit more compact, makes you a little bit more solid, and makes you feel more comfortable of being finding that stability in the pose. I'm gonna show you all of it as we go into the practice. So just a helpful hint to remember as you getting into your inversion. Okay, so let's start the practice. Okay, so we're gonna start in child's pose. We're going to bring the hands down to the floor. We're not going to extend the hands too far back. We're just going to bring them a little more forward. So we're starting from a nice, compact, cozy position. Hands pressing down to the floor. Try to get the elbows in. This is important because you want to get the rotation in the shoulders. You don't want to get the shoulders in. As a matter of fact, most of the arm balances and inversions come with the outer rotation of the shoulders. So if you have tendency for the elbows spilling out, the chicken wing idea, make sure that your fingers are spilling out. When your fingers are rolling out, that's going to bring the elbows more in. It gives you more like a nice, tight, compact position in here. And that's what we're looking for, right? We're going to protect the neck before we're protecting the head. So you want to make sure that the hands are to the side. Now, I'm not a huge fan of doing the strap thing because any props, when you start getting into the pose, are just distractions. Like, just play with whatever your body has to offer. You don't have to go into the full variation of the pose. So we're gonna kind of go level up. So we're gonna go step by step into the advanced version. You can just stay on the level till you feel is the most advanced for you, and then just work your way up to advance whenever you're ready. Okay, so hands down to the floor, and we're gonna bring the forehead down, and then from the forehead gently roll into the soft spot. Now make sure as you're rolling on the soft spot, you're not compressing. The shoulders are lifting up, lots of pressure in the hands. And then from here, maybe tuck the toes under or toes flat, whatever feels comfortable, and then shift back, come up. Let's do it again. So we're gonna go on the forehead, roll on the soft spot, elongate the back of the neck, and then roll all the way up. Okay, we're gonna add a bit more to it. So we're gonna lift the knees, going to down facing dog. So the same thing, the same action. Forehead, soft spot, tuck the toes under, lift the knees up, push the hips back, down facing dog. If you want, you can open your feet a little bit wider or keep them closed, whatever feels comfortable. Make sure the weight is in the hands and obviously in the legs in this case because the feet are still on the floor. And then slowly from here, make sure the shoulders are lifting, knees down, feet down, come back to child's pose. One more time, let's go to the down facing dog version. So soft spot, toes tucked under, lift the hips, and just feel like you can elongate the back of the neck, lifting the shoulders up. Engage the belly muscles and obviously knees down, child's pose. Okay, this time we're gonna go a little more advanced from the plank. So we're gonna come up to plank. So this is the chaturanga variation, right? The feet are pressing down, lots of engagement in the legs. This is the counter action that my trunk and my legs are doing. This is the action that my hands are gonna be doing and my arms. Now we're gonna lower, forehead down, lift her up. You can lower the knees down. Obviously, you can do with the knees on the floor. And again. And forehead down. Flip the toes if you can. Push the hips back. Child's pose. Okay. So those are the first step that we're going to be doing to kind of get into idea how to move into that soft spot. As we go into the practice, you're going to notice that it's much safer to land from a soft spot headstand stand from the crown. Okay, let's move forward. So we're going to step up the game a bit. Hands are going to go down to the floor. Again, the same thing. Forehead, soft spot, tuck the toes under, lift the legs up, down dog. And this time, we're going to lift the right leg. I'm going to give you option in here. If you want to work with that heel flexion, you can do it. You can point your toes if you feel like you still want to stick to the toes pointed version. Or you can do demi-point position, which means pretty much like a in-between pose, which means the flexion of the ankle and the toes are still pointed. We're going to lift the hips up and squeeze the knee to the chest as much as you can. What I want you guys to work on is to push the hips back, squeeze the right thigh towards the belly at the same time. Feel like you can squeeze that heel of the foot towards the glutes. So the entire leg is working pretty hard. And then slowly release. If you need to rest, rest. Otherwise, let's move to the other side. The same thing. Engage the belly muscles in, push the hips back. The action of the hips is very important here, and an action of obviously engaging the entire leg is also very essential. And then slowly raise it down, knees down to the floor. child's pose, or come up, shake it off. Okay, so this is one version. Let's move forward. Again, climbing up the ladder. Forehead, soft spot, toes tucked under. Lift the legs up, lift the knees up. Walk the feet maybe a bit closer. Lift the right leg, again, to kick in towards the belly. And this time, try to bring the right knee on the tricep. Again, push the heel towards the glute. This is active motion here. This is going to be very helpful for us to come up. And then release it down. If you need to, lower your knees down. Otherwise, to the other side. Highly recommend you to stay here for a little bit longer, for at least 5 reps. I'm just not going to waste your time here. You can always do it in your slow motion, in your pace. Let's again lift the left leg this time, left knee to the tricep. Just stop it in and bring it down, lower down. And again, child's pose, all lift it up, shake it off. Okay, we're gonna apply this motion that we just did into a little bit stronger version. So hands down to the floor. Soft spot, toes tucked under, down dog. We're gonna lift the right leg, squeeze the knee to the chest, bring the knee to the tricep, keep the knee on the tricep, so pretty much almost like a crow. We're gonna lift the left leg, squeeze the left knee in. Release the foot down, release the right foot down, and we're gonna go to the other side. Left knee, left tricep, squeeze the knee in. Release it down. Both feet down, knees down, come up. Okay, now we're gonna bring both legs on the tricep. Let's see, going to kind of like a recline or more kind of like a head crow. So hands pressing down, soft spot, down dog. We're gonna lift, I'm gonna start with the left leg so you can see me better. I'm gonna lift the left leg. Go with my left leg, left knee against the tricep, engage my hands, lengthen the back of the neck, lift the foot, squeeze it in, and this time I'm gonna bring my right knee to the tricep. So we're pretty much in the crow here. Now I'm gonna lower the left foot down, right foot down, lower your knees, child's pose. Now from here we're gonna go, I'm just gonna keep going then, hands down to the floor. It's pretty much the same. We're just gonna obviously try to step it up. We're gonna bring the head down, tuck the toes under, lift the hips. Let's start with the right leg this time. So we're gonna go tricep, tricep. This time, I'm gonna keep the left leg on the tricep, squeeze the right knee into the chest, release it down, left knee to the chest, release the tricep. This time, both knees squeezing and hold it. And then action of the feet, get flexed, pointed, whatever you want to work with, demi-point position. From there, lower down and sit down. It's very essential to work that action of the legs squeezing into the belly, because this action is going to be controlling the balance as we go with the legs extended. Okay, let's go higher up. So hands are gonna go down to the floor. I highly recommend you guys to do it obviously against close to the wall at first, and then we're gonna move away from it. Don't worry. Lengthen your chest forward, and then forehead, soft spot, down dog. We're gonna lift the right leg, left leg, knees are squeezing in, and then this time we're gonna just focus on bringing the right knee to the tricep and try to kick the left knee back. Now, I highly recommend you to flex that foot. As you're kicking the left knee up, I want you to engage the leg, feeling like the left knee is lifting up. So you're really engaging the left hip lifting up as well. Slowly release it down. Do the same thing on the other side. Flexion really helps. So you're gonna try to kick the knee back. You don't wanna go too far back. Beside you, I'm not sure that being on the soft spot would allow you to. Lift the right knee up, so engaging your right quad. The engagement in the glute is very essential here. And then slowly release. Maybe knees together. Release it down. Shake it off. Okay. We're gonna get a little bit closer to the wall because I want you guys to start moving with the leg against the wall. Okay, so I'm gonna move closer to the wall. And I want you guys imagine that that leg is actually gonna kick towards the wall. This is the time when you're actually gonna notice how safe is to go on the soft spot and the crown of the head. You're getting much more stability and balance in here. So hands are pressing down. Roll on the soft spot. Come up to down facing dog variation. Let's bring the one leg, left knee under the tricep. Right knee on the tricep at first. It makes it easier. Keep the left leg on the triceps, so lifting the right leg, keep the right knee bent, flex the foot, and see if you can bring that foot against the wall. Now, as you're bringing that foot against the wall, I want you guys bring the weight into the hands. That's the action. Counter action is going to be with the right foot pressing against the wall. So it's almost like you're trying to lift your head off the floor. That's how hard you have to work this right leg. And then slowly release. Move to the other side. Lift the left leg, flex it. Kick the foot back. Press the left foot against the wall. Really actively engage the quad, the left knee lifting up, the left hip is lifting up. Lots of elevation here. And then slowly lower down. Release your knees down. And come up. Okay, so we're learning not just how to get into the pose without jumping like a donkey, but also learning to understand how important the action of the legs in the inversion is. Okay, let's move forward. Hands on the floor. So spot, still next to, close to the wall. Down dog. Come up into the triceps. Now, from here, let's bring one leg against the wall. If you feel comfortable with the leg, press that heel against the wall. Try to lift the other leg. So both feet are going to go against the wall. Really actively engage those feet. And then slowly start walking them all the way up, flexing your feet. So active engagement in the ankles, active engagement in the feet. You should be feeling lots of length, lots of stretch coming from the lower back, from the belly. Pressure in the hands. Keep flexing your feet. And then slowly bend one leg. Again, press the foot against the wall. Bend the other leg. Both feet against the wall. One leg lands down. Other leg lands down to the tricep. Now, I'm going to give you an example. If in here you're trying to go down and you lose your balance, and you are on the soft spot, even if you're landing down, you're rolling off the soft spot to forehead and the body automatically lands into that position in that child's pose. And this is the difference between going the crown of your head and going on the soft spot. Okay, let's step up again. So one more time, we're gonna go with the wall and then we're gonna try to slowly move away. So hands on the floor, soft spot, down dog. I'm gonna just quickly jump on the tricep. You obviously gonna take your time. And then from here again, let's bring both legs all the way up against the wall. I got there with the flexion. You obviously know you can get there from one foot flat or a foot flat, flexing the feet. Now, as we're here, we're gonna engage the glutes, obviously. We're gonna squeeze the elbows. We're gonna try to lift one foot away from the wall. Really flex that foot. And you're not moving the foot forward, you're just moving your heel up. You really try to elongate from the back of the neck, from the entire spinal extensors, and from obviously the tailbone. The right foot goes to the wall, opposite leg against the wall, bend the knees, and again, maybe try to squeeze one knee to the tricep, both knees to the tricep, or both knees to the chest, landing with the toes down, child's pose. So let's come up for a second. We're gonna move a little bit away from the wall, but still close enough just in case to kind of get the kind of like a cozy safety feeling. This time we're gonna keep both knees bent, and I want you guys bring attention to the focus on the pelvis positioning. This is very essential because the pelvis is pretty much controlling how we're going into the pose, standing in the pose, and obviously coming up from the pose. So hands down to the floor, the same thing. Forehead, soft spot. We're gonna go into that crow variation in here. Now from there, let's lift the right leg, keep the right knee bent, keep the right foot flexed. So this is the same action that we're using when we're trying to get the foot against the wall. Now push that heel back, keep the left foot engaged, and now we're gonna work with the right knee lifting up and back, the left knee moving forward and down. So you're kind of feeling like you are playing a scale here, trying to coordinate with your pelvis to be more in like a neutral positioning. The pelvis can go into a little bit of rounding, like in the a little bit of back bend, or you can control it more in and up. Why I want you guys work on the pelvis is because as you start extending your legs and peeking to the pose, it's going to be very essential to understand it. So as we here, I want you guys pull with the right hip back and then switch. So this time the left glute back, a little bit of push of the hips back. Keep the feet flexed, legs pretty active. And from here, both knees in, release it down. Come up to seated or child's pose. Shake up your legs a bit, shake up your hands, and we're gonna start moving away from the wall. Okay, so hands down to the floor. As usual, soft spot. We're gonna lift one leg this time. We're gonna lift the other leg. Let's start with the right one. Bend the right knee, kick the right knee back. We're gonna stay in here with the maybe left knee of the hovering or still on the tricep. Now we're gonna flex that right foot, that foot that is behind, and we're gonna try to kick that heel up towards the ceiling. If you can hover here for at least 5 breaths, stay there. And then with control, this is the F3. This is how I'm coming up from the pose. I'm gonna rebend it. I'm gonna go into the other side. So maybe right knee on the right tricep. Flex the foot, extend it, or maybe lift the right knee up. Keep the engagement of the hips up, neck up, heel presses up, and then slowly release it down, child's pose. So you can see how in control you are if you actually having those feet actively engaged through the flexion, not through extension of the feet. Okay, let's move forward. Okay, hands down to the floor. So this time we're gonna try to go with the both legs. Let's see how it's gonna go. Try to go like a few inches away from the wall. Don't try to get too adjusted to the wall because this is the same reason why I don't like props. You don't wanna get stuck in the one position, in the one version of the pose if there's so many possibilities, right? And let's learn how to go out from from our comfort zone. And again, let me remind you that if you go in the soft spot, there is no way of going backwards. So whenever you're gonna feel like you're losing your balance here, you're gonna always land on the shins, on the legs, and possibly in the child's pose. Okay. Hands down to the floor. We're gonna go in the soft spot. We're gonna go to down dog. We're gonna come up to the crow or not. Obviously, you already know the variation. We're gonna straighten one leg, flex the foot, engage the leg up, and now push the hips a little bit back. Lift the hips up. This is an engagement that we did, pressing that foot against the wall, lifting the glutes up, lift the chest up. Hands are engaged. Right foot lift, and then slowly with control, flex the left foot. Bring maybe both feet together. Squeeze your heels up. So focus more on squeezing your heels up than squeezing your inner thighs.
And then keep that flexion as you're bending your knees maybe. Squeeze your elbows in. Engage the belly. Engage the thighs. Squeeze your thighs, squeeze your thighs, squeeze your thighs to the belly. Make sure you're not compressing in the neck. Land down in child's pose. Extend your arms if you need to. Shake up the fingers, the wrist, and come up. Okay. So we are almost there in that advanced variation of the Shirshasana, or version of Shirshasana. So let's now try to get into the actual headstand from a few different versions. So we're gonna go from the child's pose, from down dog, and from the plank. Okay, so this version is more for those of you guys who already feel confident in getting the legs all the way up straight in your tripod. I'm gonna just show you how to understand the positioning of the pelvis as you're moving with the legs straight, piking into the headstand. So, handstands in our case. Hands are pressing down. We're gonna start with the child's pose, obviously. We're gonna tuck the toes. We're gonna go to down facing dog. Walk the feet closer towards each other, towards your hands. I want you guys to get the action of the hands pressing back and the feet squeezing forward towards the hands. So there's this locking action in here. Now, as the hands are pushing back, the hips are moving forward. Try to roll with the hips as far forward as you can so you can flip your toes and then shift it back. Now let's do one more time. Forward, shift the hips back. Lots of elongation happens in here in the lower back. This is also why I mentioned that elevation and elongation in the body in headstand comes from the neck. So you don't want to compress in the neck as you're going. There's lots of length going from the tailbone all the way up into the neck. So let's try one more time. This time we're going to try to lift the legs up. Hands pressing down. Soft spot. Down dog. Shift the hips forward, shift the hips forward. See how far forward you can shift the hips. Lift one leg up, flex the foot. Ready, sit down, other leg, flex the foot. And you want to feel like that hip is moving back. Now from here, keep your both feet down. Take an inhale, push the hips. See if you can flex both feet. Ready, sit down, knees down. Child's pose. Now, the other essential thing in here is when you're already picking the feet, you don't have to keep your legs straight. That's just the cherry on top of the pie. That's like the toes pointed when you're already feeling confident in the headstand. So let's try one more time. Hands pressing down. Soft spot. Down dog. Really push the hips back. So if you need to, walk your feet as close as you can. Make sure you're not compressing in your neck. This is essential in here. Hips are pushing back. Flex the feet, bend your knees. If you want, you can open your feet a little bit wider. Sometimes having those hips a little bit wider helps. And then try to lift the legs up. Flexion really helps in here. Nice big inhale. Pay attention to your neck. Hips are lifting. Now, lowering down, bend your knees. Hips are pushing back. Legs. Hips actually moving forward, right to the top of the mat. And then feet back, hips forward, feet back. So you have that control of hovering those feet. Raise it down, knees down. Child's pose, I highly recommend bringing your chin forward in here and then spin your chin from side to side a little bit to realign or readjust your neck. Okay, those of you guys who are able to get into the final step. So this step is going to be pretty much just to recall everything what we just done in advanced version of it. So remember when we started with rolling on the child, from the child's pose and then from the down dog and then from the plank, we're actually going to try to get into headstands from all those three different poses or three different versions of the poses. So hands down to the floor. We're going to start from child's pose. You're gonna go from forehead to soft spot. Lift the knees up, walk the feet closer, squeeze the knees in. Hug your knees. Maybe come up all the way to down dog, inverted chaturanga. Bend your knees. with control. Child's pose. Lift the head up. Okay. Down dog. Forehead. Soft spot. Toes tucked under. You're gonna walk the feet forward. We already practiced this one. So if you need to bend the knees, otherwise leg straight, shift the hips back. If you feel comfortable, point your toes, demi-point position or flexion. Come up all the way up. You can play with your feet if you want. And then slowly from there to down facing dog. Lower your knees down and come up. Okay, final one, most advanced, but I think it's the most fun to do. We're gonna come up from the plank. So from plank, we actually transition a little bit to down facing dog. There's no other way to get around that pose, because that's the only way to push the hips forward. So we are in plank, half plank chaturanga, forehead, walk the feet closer. So you're already in down dog and lift the feet up. Now from here, we're gonna land in chaturanga. So keep those elbows squeezed, keep those hands active. Start shifting your hips back, elongate your legs forward. So pretty much almost the same landing like in down dog, but what we're gonna do, we're gonna shoot the legs back. Landing in chaturanga, plank, maybe down facing dog. So that's all for today, guys. Thank you so much for spending time with me and playing with different variations of the tripod headstands. I hope you found this video educating and helpful on your journey to inversions. Thank you so much for watching and see you guys soon. Namaste.